peas. I want to see a kneel when they could have been banned from the sport for kneeling. I don't want to see a kneel.
I need a
when
teleprompter.
they say,
I might need a teleprompter for this. Please excuse my hands. I'm not really sure what to do with them.
And I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
What up, YouTube? Welcome to our channel on the first episode of Black and White. We started this channel so that we can have or use a platform to speak on current events. Our purpose of this platform is to seek and speak the truth, or in other words, the black and white of each issue. This channel is to express our opinions, which are in no way fact, nor are they in no way truth. They are simply our opinions based off of our beliefs and based off of everything that has molded us into who we are today.
Hello everyone, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Tyler's girlfriend. We're going to be talking about the U.S. women's soccer team kneeling ahead of the Olympic match after the protesting rules have eased. So we found this article on The Hill, and it starts off with, the U.S. women's national soccer team joined other countries in taking a knee at the opening matches of the Tokyo Olympics on Wednesday, the first demonstrations of the Games following updated guidance from International Olympics Committee on acceptable forms of protest. The U.S. and Swedish squads gathered on the field before all 11 starters from both teams dropped to one knee at the sound of the referee's whistle to start the match. The move has become a popular symbol among athletes to condemn racial injustice, especially in the wake of George Floyd's death last year and other police killings of black individuals. Yahoo Sports reported that the U.S. and Sweden team members knelt for 10 seconds as part of the previously planned demonstrations before rising and beginning the match, which took place 2 days ahead of the official Tokyo Olympics opening ceremony scheduled for Friday today. Members of the British and Chilean teams also knelt ahead of their match on Wednesday. While the IOC had for years banned these types of protests from taking place at Olympic events, continued pushback resulted in the committee releasing new guidelines earlier this month that athletes may demonstrate through actions such as kneeling or fist raising in specific settings, including on the field of play prior to the start of competition. The IOC said athletes may also engage in forms of protest when speaking to members of the media at team meetings through social media platforms and other specified venues. IOC Athletes Commission Chair Christy Coventry said in a statement at the time that the new guidelines are a result of our extensive consultation with the global athletes community. While the guidelines offer new opportunity for athletes to express themselves prior to the competition, they preserve the competitions on the field of play, the ceremonies, the victory ceremonies in the Olympic Village, Coventry added. This was the wish of a big majority of athletes in our global consultation. U.S. captain Megan Rapinoe said following the team's opening match Wednesday that kneeling is an opportunity for us to continue to use our voices and use our platforms to talk about the things that affect all of us intimately and differently. We have people from Team USA, from all over the country, and from all backgrounds. And people literally from all over the world for every other team, she said, according to the Associated Press. So I obviously encourage everyone to use that platform to the best of their ability to do the most good that they possibly can in the world, especially as all eyes are on Tokyo these next couple of weeks. The U.S. women's team went on to lose 3-0 to Sweden in a shocking upset as the Americans look to add to their collection of 4 Olympic gold medals, more than any other women's national team. That's how the article ends. So, in summary, Team USA and Team Sweden knelt for 10 seconds before they started their match, and I guess apparently Team Britain and Team Chilean did as well, the women's soccer teams, in support of, or to condemn, I would say, racial injustice in the wake of police killings of black individuals. Now, where do you want to dive into it? Like, where do you want to start?
The first thing I thought of was they lost 3-0, and it seems strange, that
Zero.
that they'd be so focused on kneeling, yet it doesn't really seem like they're even prepared to play the game.
Got him!
You know, I immediately, just like the Colin Kaepernick thing, thought that, you know, I really don't feel that there's anything wrong with kneeling, you know, outside, whatever the reason may be. And, you know, the irony behind that is that, you know, I've seen a lot of people, and a big reason why this has become such a huge deal is a lot of conservative reporters, politicians and pundits are outspoken about how it's so disrespectful that they would kneel, and especially when they represent our country, which I agree. I actually don't agree with them kneeling, and I think, and I don't even think it has anything to do with the George Floyd movement at all, or what happened, as far as, you know, whether I agree with you know, their opinions on it, or I have a different opinion on it, because I think there's better ways to deal with those types of issues than just kneeling.
Exactly, yeah.
But the irony is that you have conservatives, you know, who are outspoken about how, you know, and in relation to this issue, about how it's so important to recognize how this country is so unique, and that we have so many freedoms, and that we should, and the U.S. women's soccer team should embrace that and appreciate that, so they shouldn't be kneeling. But then at the same time, they condemn them and are outraged that they're kneeling, when in reality that's, I think, one of the greatest representations of how amazing America is and why it's the greatest country, because in other places you would not be allowed to do that. And, you know, those places are the same places conservatives talk about, saying, you know, you could live there, you could be there, you know, you should be thankful for what you have, but yet in the same light, they're kind of acting just like those countries when they sit here and they are outspokenly against them in ways that really aren't productive. Mm-hmm. So I find that to be very interesting, but I truly believe, as much as I don't agree with their choice to kneel, mm-hmm. And I think it's a strange thing to do.
What made me laugh as I was reading this, it kind of like popped in my head, because I did skim the article, but I didn't really read it in its depth. I didn't read the quote that the captain said when she said, "An opportunity for us to continue to use our voices," which I found so interesting, because by kneeling, you're not using a voice. You're not actually doing anything. And who's to even say, I mean, maybe they said it afterwards that their kneeling was a symbolic reflection of whatever, against racial injustice, or a stand against racial injustice. But that's not using your voice, because to the common person who, hey, maybe they were under a rock when Colin Kaepernick started the whole trend, so they don't know what kneeling is. He's like, did somebody die? Like, I don't know why everybody's kneeling. And then, you know, The Hill has to put an article out to clarify that everybody's kneeling to take a stand against racial injustice. So I think the whole act in itself is such a cop-out to even call that protesting, because they're not using their voice or a platform. They're just kneeling. It's the easiest thing you have to do.
It's a common thing. Time and time again, people kneel and nothing gets done. You know, again, though, I have to say that I don't agree with their choice to kneel, but I agree with their right to do it. And I think that's why America's so great. And I don't think that can be said enough, is because we have the freedom to be able to do that. And I don't think that anyone should try to take that away from them. I know that's not what you're saying.
Yeah,
but I think that
agree
point
with
is
the right
really
to do
important to
it.
make, because there's too many people, you know, contradicting themselves and claiming to be about freedom, but then it's really only the freedom they want, and that's on both sides. It's on the right and the left. It's really only about the freedom they want. You know, as much as you might disagree with someone, I believe that we should all have, you know, freedom and the same opportunities, or at least equal opportunity. You know,
I agree with them being able to do it. I agree with them having the right to do it. I agree with them being able to express whatever the opinion they may have. I agree with the committee easing the guidelines so that they do have that freedom to express whatever they may want to express, whether it be opinion, belief, what have you. However, my thing is, why is this an article? Because if you truly believe or you're truly against racial discrimination, then you would be out there in the street fighting for equality. You'd be doing something. You'd have an action beyond just kneeling, because what is kneeling going to do? It's not going to do anything. You think someone, you think these women on the soccer teams are going to kneel, and cops are going to be like, oh, dang, I just feel so bad. I'm going to go out and do a good job. Cops are just going to go out and be like, you know what, I'm going to target less minorities. You know what, we're all going to target less minorities. Like, that's not going to incite change. So my thing is, the only reason why these people kneel is not because, and this is my opinion, again, not fact or truth, but not because they believe it's really going to do anything, but because it gives them more attention. It brings more attention to them, the fact that they kneel. And that's it. That's it. They get an article written about them. They get talked about. Because honestly, think about it. Whoever talks about the U.S. Women's Olympic Soccer Team? Whoever talks about a U.S. Women's Soccer Team to begin with?
Well, and that's the other thing, is there's now another article out that's talking about how the women's soccer team is outraged and, it being outspoken regarding their salaries in comparison to men's salaries.
Yeah.
As if there was, and this seems to be a trending mindset, as if there was some man off on Mars deliberately manipulating what's going on Earth, or cursing women to the point where women's soccer players don't make as much as men. We live in a free society where people get to choose what they value more. Do we want to start dictating to people and telling people what they have to watch, what they can't watch, what they can believe, what they cannot believe? Because in the same light as I'm saying I support their right to do that, I also support people's rights to be more interested in men's soccer than women's.
Yeah.
And the reality
really, men are the only beings that will watch
generally
other men
speaking,
go
and
at
I
it.
believe women would say this as well, is generally speaking, yes, there's a 50-50 split, pretty much, between men and women on this earth and in this country. But when it comes to interest in sports, men tend to be more interested in sports than women. And so the market for men's sports is greater than women's. That's it. There's nothing more than it's all money. So if you want to get down to it, maybe you should look at the corporations and talk to them about how they're marketing things. But at the end of the day, we're all out here to try to succeed, and that's all they're trying to do. And men want to watch other men play sports because men like playing sports more than women. That's all that it is. And I think that
truly men are so competitive that they just love watching other men compete against each other, and women are just so above that.
Right. And there's nothing wrong, to me, there's nothing wrong with either thing. And I think that's the beauty, again, of this country, is we can all embrace our differences and our interests and our beliefs. And, I have no problem with a woman loving sports, and I have no problem with a woman absolutely hating sports. There's nothing wrong with it either way. And we've become a society where we have to try to dictate to people too often, where that's the knee-jerk reaction. The other thing that I was thinking about when you're talking was, just real quick, is there seems to be this prevalence in society where people are not interested in investigating on their own, or determining things on their own, doing the research, or actually just asking the question, why might this person or this group be doing something? It is simply just, oh, they did this. They must be virtuous. They must be good. I'm not saying they're bad. All I'm saying is that, for example, I used to talk about this a lot. A couple years ago, I'd have these discussions about kneeling and Black Lives Matter and all these things. Not getting political at all, but just to say that when an organization writes Black Lives Matter on their court, or they take that name, to just assume that they're doing it because they're virtuous and they're great is very misguided. Because the reality is that is a marketing scheme. That is to make money. That is to make profit. And it's not brave because everyone's doing it. It's brave to oppose it, okay? But again, outside of politics, that is a marketing scheme. That is for profit. That is not because there's some great organization. I'm not saying they aren't, but they're not because of this. And I think people need to start asking why people are doing things. Because there's great money to be made in taking some of these stances. Were they doing it before George Floyd?
Very true. And it reminds me of that one video that we saw earlier of the African-American lady defacing the Black Lives Matter mural in New York. And she was like, stop defunding our police because I need those police, like Black people need those police, those African-American communities need police, like why are you taking their police away? And I don't even think people even think about it from that perspective, because the people that are fighting for Black Lives Matter are so distant from the people in the inner cities or the communities that do need cops, that they don't even see a reason for police, because they are fortunate and privileged enough to never ever have to come in contact with a cop or a community that has police, or a community that doesn't have the safety to not have any police there. So it's so crazy.
Yeah. And just
that people just like get off the hype of whatever's trending.
I mean, and
just follow it.
Right. And the media has a lot to do with that. Unfortunately, the media is really dishonest, and they, they operate in a way that they don't really have to be called to question, because people just, it's on the TV, it's on TV, it's on the news, it's on my social media feed. It must be the truth because some news organization is spouting it. The sad thing is that, oftentimes negative news or drama or fear or whatever it is, but negative emotion often leads to more viewership. So they have greater interest in showing the cop, whether justifiably or wrongly shooting someone, but the cop shot someone, so it's a use of force and may have been on someone in the minority community. So if we show that, then we can profit from that. We'll get more viewers, we'll get more ad dollars. It builds this idea and this interest and motivation in narratives. They don't have any interest in telling the truth because it doesn't make them as much money. But what I was going to say is that police officers, especially now, most of them, especially larger departments, are wearing body cameras. And in small groups and large groups, people are flawed. People make mistakes. People are sinners. So there's going to be some bad cops out there, and bad meaning they have bad intentions, or bad meaning they are incompetent, so that they just don't meet the duties and the responsibilities of the job very well. It is a very stressful job to have to perform. But if you put body cams on doctors, if you put body cams on nurses, I'm not saying we should do this, but if you put body cams on every profession, you're going to see that a certain percentage of every profession are horrible people with bad intentions or extremely incompetent. Nurses or teachers or child care workers, where your kids go, whether that's for an education or just for daycare, they have lives, there's lives in their care, and there's lives at stake in those situations, just like there are with police officers. It's sad that the police officers get all the heat, and it's oftentimes because they're the only ones either with videos on them or people shooting them with their videos.
So yeah, there are people that are just mainly bad in every profession.
Yeah.
You can't get utopia out here.
And what I said was not to justify police in any widespread or small manner.
Absolutely no way.
Although, I do believe they get a bad rap oftentimes because there's a motivation there to create this narrative. Totally. But just like there are bad police, like I said before, there are good police. And I'll say this is one of the biggest problems and issues I have with this whole movement as far as, defund the police, is the idea that a cop could make the wrong decision and be incompetent in his job, but yet be called racist because of it. It's not that he could be bad at his job, he's just bad at his job. He's just incompetent. He should just not be on the force. He can't handle the stress. He doesn't know how to, or he's improperly trained. He doesn't know how to deal with the situation. That does not make him racist. It does not make him racist. I'm not saying there aren't racist cops, there's racist everybody. But we have to look at each individual situation on its own terms. We have to start operating, not like this is the Wild West, but it's a courtroom. Journalism is dead as far as I'm concerned, because they don't have to operate with any expert citation, any witnesses, any evidence. They can just pretty much at this point say what they want and then write it as an opinion article, and then it's their opinion, but that's the small letters of it. We don't see that. We just see the story and we take it as truth, when in reality most of it is literally just their personal opinion.
Very true.
So.
All right, well, I guess to sum up this video and our thoughts about this specific piece, the U.S. women's soccer team kneeling ahead of the Olympic match after protest rules were eased, is to say that go America.
USA! USA! USA!
For allowing allowing them to have their platform. I guess go Olympic Committee for using the rules so that they can express their First Amendment rights as Americans. But boo, U.S. women's soccer team and all the other people that nailed for not actually taking a stand. I mean, that's the easiest cop out and the easiest way to be like, oh yeah, I support you, but like, you don't actually, you know. So boo to that, boo to the phonies, and
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I'd just say, just to sum it up, I would just say in general, we talked about a lot of things, but I would say, don't let other people make up your mind for you.
don't let them
Do it on your own.
do it on your
Do it on your own.
Be a free thinker. Until next time.
That's it. Yeah. I think we did very good once we got into the nitty gritty of it.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of I Can't Sit on a Bar Stool. I don't know. Who's your host? Lester Holt.
I'm Mr. Holt.
You know what? This isn't even daring because they're only kneeling after the protest rules ease. I want to seal a kneel before the guidelines were. That's what I figured. I saw that and I was like, you would need a teleprompter for that. You would need a teleprompter for that. You want me to be your teleprompter and then like you come back in when I'm done teleprompting? You do the intro by yourself. The purpose of our platform is to provide our beliefs, thoughts, and opinions on current events. Additionally,
But if
our
we
purpose
mess
will
up,
be-
and you just be like,
I'm Tyler's girlfriend.
they're gonna think, oh, she can't have a name.
Yeah, I can't have a name. It's whatever. I don't care. It's me. I'm allowed to do that. I'm entitled to that. I will release my name when I feel ready and when I feel relevant.
Alright, so
and
I'll be
that's the
like-
control I take as a woman.
All right, so I'll be like, hello everyone, I'm Tyler, and you hear me. And you say that. And you say,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Okay.
Okay. Am I supposed to repeat that?
No, I'm what?
What? Where are we going now? What are we doing now?
I'm introducing myself, and
Okay.
then,
Okay.
okay. Hello everyone, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Tyler's. Oh. Were you gonna introduce me?
Okay, go ahead.
Whoa!
All right, let's do it again.
You're not even allowed to have a voice.
Let's do it again.